Hello and welcome back. My name is Corey and you're my rubber ducks for the evening. And this is the series of episodes where we are building Tang, a custom programming language, a scripting language really, from scratch, using nothing but our hopefully modernish C++ skills and a terminal window, and Vim as our text editor, and tools such as Flex, Bison, Google Test, ICU, and hopefully our wits. And we are on, what number are we on? We're on episode number 73. And we are continuing on our work on adding libraries to our language. And what we're going to do on the right-hand side, make clean, and then, wow, make test watch. There we go. And it'll start a clean compilation on the right hand side. In the meantime, on the left hand side, we will do our customary git log. And the last thing we did, I know that the tag of episode 72 was there, but the last thing you saw me do was remove a few things from the to-do list. And so that was on the end of the last episode 72. And if I say git status, you'll see that there are no other changes. So we can just kind of jump in. And let's look at our test first. And I know, do I want to do this? Yes, I'll go ahead and open Bison because we'll need it. And for our tests, right here at the bottom, this is what we care about. So what have we added? Right now we can say use math and call math.floor because floor is the only function that exists in math. And use math as m and use m as an alias. And it hit me at the very end of the previous episode. It hit me that this is basically the use math as m is saying m is equal to the library of math. Yeah, I can't believe it took me that long to realize that that's all it's doing. With one exception, m should be a global reserved word. So that later, if it's like declaring a function, if you're inside of another function, you should still be able to do it. So when we wrote our code about supporting recursion, yeah, that's what it's similar to. But we don't have that yet. We haven't written it. And of course, since we're writing things from scratch, if we don't write it, it doesn't exist. So we will have to include support for this. And I've also said from the beginning, nothing up my sleeves, right? Quite literally. This is live programming, 100% live programming, and that means my mistakes, my design choices, everything is live. At the beginning, I was really pre-planning stuff, and now I'm not. I am 100% flying by the seat of my pants. So, yeah, let's just jump in. So, on the right-hand side, we can see that all of our tests have passed, and that's good, because that's where we left it off. And on the left-hand side, we're going to go down and we're going to uncomment this next test, and it is going to fail. But what is failing? Well, use as invocation with an expression, not just the library name. Okay. And that is math.floor as floor. And yep, there we go. So we're going to save this, and I know it's not going to work because we haven't written support for it. And it's empty because it actually has a syntax error that we're not checking for at the moment. We just tried to execute it, and since there was a syntax error, there is no bytecode to execute, and so it doesn't die on us. It just doesn't output anything. So let's go into our Bison file and look for the word use. Now we've got it here, and right here, use something as something else. And the problem is this word identifier. And when we see an identifier, it is an AST node library. But we already know that we can, if I go back, if math is the library, when we execute it, we get something that we can then do period something. So if we just load math, well here, sorry, it's on this one. We load math, that's fine, and then call period and give it floor as an identifier, it should work. And in fact, we already have math.floor as an expression, but we can't just put anything there. We can't just say, well, allow an expression, because first of all, if we do refer to this as an expression, that is math.floor as an expression, then we don't know that math is actually a library. We'll be thinking that that's just another identifier, which is a variable name that it hasn't been declared. That's the first problem. And the second problem is it would allow us to do maybe something like use, 3 plus 2 as floor. So if we were to instead say, I can say use an expression as an identifier, it would allow for this type of stuff, and that shouldn't be there at all. So, let me, oops, there, redo. Okay, that gets me to the state I wanted to be at. So, what can we do? Well, we've got, we basically want to have an expression, but we want it to be an expression that can only be used for a library. So, how about a library expression? So where do we declare expression? Right here, we're going to have another one that's just called library expression. Okay. Where can we use that? So we've got expression list. These are the close statements. Statement. Where do we use? Use. There we go. Let's just put this here. That was between open statement and close statement. All right. For the moment, let's put this here. Let's say library expression, too many S's. Library expression can be something. Identifier. Sure. And if it's an identifier, then what do? We've already written it. All right, and now if I replace identifier with library expression right here, okay, whoops. So now instead of AST node library expression, Okay, I see what's going on. So the problem is this should not be All right. I know. I just keep saying all right, all right, all right, and I'm not telling you what I'm thinking. Originally, I was going to say we should just make an AST node library, and that would be fine using the identifier. But the problem is when we call AST node library, and I don't know what the I don't know what identifier it should get. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to not use this here. We're going to say identifier. And if I just say use and then an identifier, we're going to assume that that's an AST node library and it is its own thing. Okay. If we say use library expression as identifier, then okay, there we go. It's a library with by the way, we're about to break everything. That's why this is the only thing I'm planning on getting done in this video. AST node library, give the library expression. 4 is the identifier and 1 is the location. That's fine. Or if it's an identifier by itself. So in other words, we can't say use math.floor. We can't do that. We would have to say use math.floor as something. Or just use math. I can handle that. I can deal with that. The problem is what do we do? So this right here is not and this should be $. Nope. 1 at 1. All right. Is there a place okay, this may still work. Identifier, and now, so this is kind of like the base case. Yeah, we're about to break everything. All right, that's fine. And or library expression dot identifier, and then that is going to be an AST node sorry, it should identifier. No, it's not an identifier. Period. And what do I give it? $1 and make shared, because identifier is just a string, so make shared of an AST node identifier, giving it $3, comma, @3, close, and then @1. So I think that will get our base case, and I think it should not be an identifier. I think it should be a library. And here's the difference. Okay. Remember I said at the end of the last video, and I said it at the beginning of this one, that I realized that the using statement is basically a glorified assignment statement. But there's also another part to it, and that is it has special a special meaning in that it's dealing with a library as opposed to just a general expression. Okay, so what we need then is we need an AST node use statement. And so we've got, when we get to the use, that's what it needs to be, a use statement. And let's see. So that means our base case should be a library, which has the name, that's fine, or the dot, that's fine. But then the use, okay, so I'm going to say auto library is equal to AST node library with an identifier, that's fine. And I'm not going to give it an alias. I'm going to remove the alias from there, and I'm going to, the $$ is equal to standard make shared, something that doesn't exist yet, AST node use. And it is going to require library and then the alias, so that's the $2, which is a string. Okay. What about this one? This is not node library. This will be use, and it will be $2 is the library expression, 4 is the alias, and its location. Oh, I need that. @1. Okay. So, to double check, library expression. When it's just an identifier, that is the AST node library. That's the base case. Anything else, the recursive case, right, dot identifier is just an AST node period. But the base case is AST node library. And the same way, if I just say use an identifier, that is a library. And then I need this use statement, which will link whatever the library is, or the library expression, to an alias of some sort. Yeah, that's going to work. It's going to say, hey, I don't know what AST node use is. That's all right. Oh, and I guess we missed a closing thing there. Yeah. And now it's going to say, hey, I don't know what an AST node use is. An AST node library has the wrong number of expressions. That's fine. Where's my pound includes? I need to pound include a file that doesn't exist yet. AST node use. All right. It's still going to complain. I don't care. Taking off my watch to get the weight off my arms. All right, now, so what are we going to do? We're going to copy our include AST node library to include AST node use.hpp, and we're going to copy our source for AST node library to be a source for AST node use.cpp. All right. Vim our make file. Use AST node use. Okay. Nope. Let's colon period comma period plus 4, and we're going to substitute the while for use. Okay. And now we're going to vim our include AST node use and our source for AST node use and our include for AST node library and our source for AST node library. Okay, that's a lot of stuff. This is AST node use, but it thinks it's library, so let's change some stuff, shall we? So library to use. Library to use, and all right. An AST nodes that represents into the script. And what the funny thing is now that I'm seeing is like, oh, I need 2 separate AST nodes, and it all makes sense. And that's sometimes what happens with programming, right? You do a little bit of hacking, and in my case, I did 2 days worth of hacking. But when I sat down, I don't get to think about this much in between, and so when I sit down, I'm just going nonstop on this, pretty strong, and then. Sometimes it's like after you sit and think about it, doing something else, when you have time to think about it, you all of a sudden like, oh yeah, that's all that is. I was overcomplicating it. So, library into a script. The names are well, that would have been library. A library or the library attributes will be represented by the alias. Within the script. So we do need an expression and an alias, that's fine. And then the location. Okay. In fact, I think all of that is right. This one needs to be changed as well. Okay. And use alias expression. There. Expression alias. Keep that order. Compile pre-process. Alias as an identifier. So now it becomes interesting. We're going to say, so we've got strings and identifiers. What do we need to do? Load the library expression. So we're going to say this arrow expression arrow compile program. As, say the result, on the stack. Okay. It's funny, is that all that's needed? Kind of, I think. Did that really just simplify that much? It may have. And what's funny is because, well, identifiers, we don't need strings anymore. Yeah, because that will be used by the AST node library. So what's happening is we're actually really just condensing this down to a few things. Specifically, we're going to use the pre-existing period, the AST node period, to do the drilling down to generate the bytecode for all of that. And so all that the use has to do is it has to say whatever that expression is, resolve it, and then move it into a place on the stack. Yeah. Okay. And now, for the library, we no longer need an alias. We just need an expression. Okay, we no longer need an alias, so this is going away. All right, so now, what did I just say? We no longer need an alias. Okay, we don't have an alias there. What I'm wondering is, do we still... Yeah, we're going to keep the rest of it. We'll keep the... I don't think I need to say... There. Okay. Compile preprocess. There's no longer an alias. In fact, compile preprocess. Didn't I already do this? This alias, this expression. Oh, no. That I had to. Oh, wait, I'm not... Add an identifier of this alias. Okay. Okay. And that means the periods will add the strings they need to add, and the library will, what we're about to check. We no longer have to say preprocessed state is maybe unused. Okay. Now, what does this look like? In the compile preprocess for the library, okay, so this is the base case when we get to a library. What do we need? We need a string that represents it is an expression. Is it complaining about that? Okay, and that's on line 34. I'm not there yet. Okay. So what does the compile look like for this? peek. That, and then library. I don't need to do anything else. And this is what happens if it fails. So, in the unlikely event that either my expression is not an identifier, which it should be. So, in fact, let's back up. Now, AST node library. This is no longer going to be that. It's going to be a string, and we're going to call this library name. Might as well. Library name. Because now it is no longer, we're not conflating the two, this is just the library name. Library name. Okay. Now, in our constructor, nope, did that wrong. Const string ampersand name, no library name. Library name. Library name. Let's make this what I just wrote, string ampersand all right, library there. Simplifies that. So compile preprocess. Okay, that's fine. Add the library name as a string so that it can be used by the bytecode to load the library. There we go. Simple enough. Okay. And now for the compile. No longer need to make this check. Okay. No longer need library name. So I'm no longer using the alias. So if the strings appear, then peek the strings library name true. Identifiers dot size. Okay, yeah. Else load a null. That all seems legit. Okay, now creating yes in Bison now on the wrong. There we go. Do I have? I'm not in Bison, so there we go. Use. So identifier. Node library, and identifier is just a string, so we don't need to make a shared identifier. It is just, there we go. And in fact, I can there. And if we are dying for readability, I always use two space indents, sorry. No, I don't even like that. Okay, there, it's one line. AST node use, and in this case, AST node library, there. And the period, yes. Line 405. What's it not liking? Shared. Make shard. Typo that some of you probably saw immediately that I just overlooked. In the parser, sorry, just now I'm looking to find where a line that I have control over. Base. If it would just color code these lines. 191, okay. Line 191. Well, that didn't tell me anything. Oh, right there, 405. So when I'm making the period, no matching function for call to ASC node period with a shared pointer to an ASC node and a shared pointer to an identifier. And then a location. Candidate is shared pointer to an AST node, and then a string. Okay, I guess we don't do the shared identifier, we do just the string, which is $3. So it's easier than I was making it out to be. I don't believe it, but it looks like it's running. Looks like everything passed. Well, let's see. Okay. Do I have my tests? No. Let's edit test. Go to the end. And look, we're using our use as. Floor 3.5. It's working. And I'm happy. Yay. Yeah, you know what? I was just I was trying to think through some stuff, and every test I can think of would be testing something that we haven't written yet, but that I plan to write. So I think we're just going to wrap up everything. So git diff. And our library now, yeah, this is all so much simpler as well. And what is this going to be? It's going to be all right. Now, remake our docs because we changed some function signatures, so there's definitely going to be some reworking there. We added some files, so there's going to be some new stuff there. All right. Update docs for episode. What episode are we? Is this 73? Yes, it is. Episode number 73. For episode 73. A lot of rewrites because they were significantly different. All right. And now push everything up. .73. Push the tag up. Where's our lines of code at? That put us over 10,000 lines of code, and we're still not done. But you know what? We have a lot of our functionality. So what are we missing on this? Well, we still haven't tested whether or not tested, I know it won't work, because right now a library, when we say use whatever, it is only seen as a variable. And that's bad, because if then we go inside a function, we would have to say use that library name again and reload it in order to have access to it. And we don't want a library to work like that. We want it to work like when we declare a function. It should just be automatically, it should go into a kind of global scope or something that propagates into the further contexts. And so yeah, that's something we need to add. And then there's some other stuff that I would like to do to make this a little nicer in terms of getting rid of boilerplate for declaring new libraries. That's what I want to work on. So, having said that, then I think we will wait, what? Untracked files. No. Okay. I guess we're going to do one other thing, and that is figure out it's normally why I'd say get status, so I don't miss stuff like that. So I just want to say git remove tag local and remote. Yep. -G, that's the easy one. I knew about that. But when it's a remote, that's it. Okay. So let's do this really fast. Git tag-d episode 073. Git what was it? Oh, you push the delete. Yeah. Push delete origin 073. Okay. Get status. And missing files. Now, add the tag. Okay, now it's been pushed. Sorry about that. A little unexpected bit of work, but that puts us at a good stopping point. We're just under an hour into the video, which is much better than how long some of the previous videos have been going. So with that, I'm just going to, it's Christmas Eve when I'm recording this right now, so maybe I'll have time to record one more video tonight. That way I don't have to record one on Christmas Day. We'll see, because I'm trying to get one video out a day, even though I know nobody is watching these right now. But maybe in the future. But also, I just need to keep up a schedule. Otherwise, it'll never get done. It'll become one of those projects that just kind of, sits there and never gets finished. So, yeah, that's what we're doing. All right. Thank you again. Merry Christmas. Have a great night. Bye.